Welcome to our journey through history as we explore the lives of 31 U.S. presidents who not only served their country as commander-in-chief, but also on the battlefield. These men, from the very first president to more recent leaders, brought their military experience to the highest office in the land. Let's dive in. Starting with the first president, George Washington, known as the father of his country, he led the Continental Army to victory in the American Revolutionary War, securing independence and becoming a natural choice as the nation's first president. Beyond his military achievements, Washington was also a pioneering entrepreneur, introducing agricultural innovations like crop rotation at his plantation, Mount Vernon, and establishing one of the largest whiskey distilleries in America, showcasing his business acumen. Thomas Jefferson, the third president and author of the Declaration of Independence, was a man of many talents. In addition to his political achievements, he was an inventor, architect, and founder of the University of Virginia. He also orchestrated the Louisiana Purchase, doubling the size of the U.S. Though Jefferson's military service as a colonel in the Virginia militia was brief, it gave him valuable insights into defense and diplomacy. His personal library later became the foundation of the Library of Congress after the original was destroyed in the War of 1812. The fourth president, James Madison, also served in the Virginia militia as a colonel. Madison is best known for being the father of the Constitution, but during the War of 1812, he became the only sitting president to come under enemy fire as the British burned Washington, D.C. James Monroe, our fifth president, fought bravely in the Revolutionary War, serving under George Washington. He's remembered for his role in the Battle of Trenton, where he was severely wounded. Monroe's military service earned him respect and helped shape his Monroe Doctrine, a key element of U.S. foreign policy. Next is the seventh president, Andrew Jackson, nicknamed Old Hickory for his toughness. Jackson was a major general in the War of 1812, best known for his victory in the Battle of New Orleans. His military success catapulted him to national fame and eventually to the White House. William Henry Harrison, the ninth president, was a military officer who gained fame for his leadership during the Battle of Tippecanoe and the War of 1812. He was the oldest president to be elected at the time and delivered the longest inaugural address in history. Tragically, Harrison died of pneumonia just 32 days after taking office, making his presidency the shortest in U.S. history. John Tyler, the 10th president, served in the War of 1812 as a captain in the Virginia militia. Though his military career was short, his leadership qualities were evident early on, paving the way for his political career. James K. Polk, the 11th president, also served in the Tennessee militia, albeit briefly. Polk is best remembered for leading the nation during the Mexican-American War, where his military decisions helped expand U.S. territory significantly, including the annexation of Texas, the Oregon Territory, and the acquisition of California following the Mexican-American War. He was often referred to as the first dark horse candidate, unexpectedly rising to the presidency. A protege of Andrew Jackson, he earned the nickname Young Hickory, echoing Jackson's nickname Old Hickory. Zachary Taylor, the 12th president, was a national war hero thanks to his leadership during the Mexican-American War. Known as Old Rough and Ready for his unpretentious and rugged demeanor, Taylor was a career military man who became president without any prior political experience. Unfortunately, his time in office was cut short when he died of a stomach flu after serving only 16 months, making him one of the shortest-serving U.S. presidents. Millard Fillmore, the 13th president, served in the New York State Militia during the War of 1812. Though his military experience was limited, Fillmore's service reflected his commitment to the country from a young age. He is best known for signing the Compromise of 1850, a series of laws aimed at easing tensions between free and slave states. His support for the Fugitive Slave Act made him a controversial figure. but he saw it as a necessary measure to preserve the Union. Franklin Pierce, the 14th president, was a brigadier general in the Mexican-American War. He led troops in key battles such as Contreras and Churubusco. Despite fainting in battle due to injuries, Pierce continued to lead, showcasing his determination. James Buchanan, the 15th president. Being a member of the Federalist Party, Buchanan opposed the War of 1812. When the British burned Washington, D.C. in 1814, Buchanan felt compelled to act. He enlisted in a volunteer group known as the Lancaster County Dragoons to help defend Baltimore. Although his unit did not engage in battle, Private Buchanan faithfully served until the war's conclusion in 1815. Abraham Lincoln, the 16th president, is widely regarded as one of the greatest leaders in American history. He led the nation through the Civil War and was instrumental in preserving the Union. Lincoln's most significant achievement was the abolition of slavery, marked by his issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation and the passage of the 13th Amendment. Tragically, he was the first U.S. president to be assassinated, meeting his untimely end at the hands of John Wilkes Booth in 1865. The 17th president, Andrew Johnson, served as the military governor of Tennessee during the Civil War. Though not a combat soldier, Johnson played a crucial role in maintaining Union control in the state, demonstrating strong leadership during a time of crisis, which ultimately earned him a place on Lincoln's ticket. Notably, Johnson later became the first U.S. president to be impeached, a significant event in American history, though he was acquitted by a single vote. Ulysses S. Grant, the 18th president, was one of the most prominent military figures in American history, though he was initially forced out of the Army due to struggles with alcohol and a lack of career direction. However, with the outbreak of the Civil War, President Lincoln was in desperate need of experienced soldiers, and Grant was called back into service. He quickly proved his worth with significant victories, including the capture of key forts such as Fort Henry and Fort Donelson, earning him the nickname Unconditional Surrender Grant. His leadership at battles like Shiloh and later as commanding general of the U.S. Army led the Union to victory in the Civil War, solidifying his legacy as a relentless and determined leader. As president, Grant made significant efforts to suppress the Ku Klux Klan, using federal troops and the Enforcement Acts to protect African American rights during Reconstruction. Rutherford B. Hayes, the 19th president, served with distinction in the Union Army during the Civil War, earning recognition for his bravery and leadership. His election in 1876 was one of the most intensely disputed in U.S. history, leading to the Compromise of 1877, where he was awarded the presidency in exchange for withdrawing federal troops from the South, effectively ending Reconstruction. Hayes also focused on civil service reform during his presidency, advocating for merit-based appointments and fighting the spoils system. James A. Garfield, the 20th president, was a Civil War hero who rose to prominence as a Union Army general. While his presidency was tragically brief, Garfield was known for his commitment to civil rights and reform. In 1881, while preparing to board a train in Washington, D.C., he was shot by a disgruntled office seeker. Though he survived the initial attack, Garfield's death was ultimately caused by poor medical treatment, making him the second U.S. president to be assassinated. Chester A. Arthur, the 21st president, served as quartermaster general of the New York militia during the Civil War, where his organizational skills were essential in supporting Union troops. He unexpectedly became president after James A. Garfield was shot in July 1881 and died months later. Arthur, known for his commitment to civil service reform, surprised many by championing the Pendleton Civil Service Act, which established a merit-based system for federal jobs. His efforts helped restore integrity to the presidency during a time of political uncertainty. Benjamin Harrison, the 23rd president and grandson of the 9th president, William Henry Harrison, served as a brigadier general in the Union Army during the Civil War. Known for his leadership and tactical skills, Harrison led troops in several important battles, including the Battle of Resaca, the Battle of Atlanta, and the Battle of Nashville. His military experience deeply influenced his approach to leadership during his presidency. An interesting fact about Harrison is that he was the first president to have electricity in the White House. He was so fearful of the new invention that he hired a servant to turn on the lights. William McKinley, the 25th president, was the last president to have served in the American Civil War. Remarkably, he began his service as an enlisted man and rose to the rank of brevet major, making him the only president to have started as a private and ended as an officer. Tragically, McKinley's second term was cut short when he was shot on September 6, 1901, by anarchist Leon Czolgosz. He died 8 days later, becoming the second U.S. president to be assassinated, and was succeeded by Vice President Theodore Roosevelt. Theodore Roosevelt, the 26th president, was known as Teddy Roosevelt, and was one of the most dynamic leaders in American history. Before his presidency, Roosevelt had a distinguished career, serving as a New York State Assemblyman, U.S. Civil Service Commissioner, New York City Police Commissioner, Assistant Secretary of the Navy, and Lieutenant Colonel in the Rough Riders during the Spanish-American War, where he became a war hero. He later served as governor of New York before becoming vice president. At age 42, Roosevelt became the youngest president in the nation's history. Like his predecessor, William McKinley, Roosevelt was shot while giving a speech, but in a dramatic turn of events, he survived the assassination attempt and continued his speech with the bullet still lodged in his chest. Harry S. Truman, the 33rd president, served as an artillery officer in World War I. Truman made some of the most consequential decisions in American history. He authorized the use of the atomic bomb against Japan, bringing World War II to an end. Truman also played a pivotal role in rebuilding post-war Europe through the Marshall Plan, worked to contain the spread of communism, and led the United States into the Korean War from 1950 to 1953. In 1948, Truman made a historic move by ending segregation in the U.S. military, marking a significant step toward civil rights in America. Dwight D. Eisenhower, the 34th president, was a five-star general in the U.S. Army during World War II and served as the supreme commander of the Allied forces in Europe. Many historians believe his most crucial decision of the war was ordering the D-Day assault on German defenses in occupied France. The D-Day invasion of Normandy on June 6, 1944, was the largest seaborne attack in history, involving around 6,000 ships, over 11,000 aircraft, and 156,000 ground troops. Eisenhower's leadership in planning and carrying out this operation played a key role in the defeat of Nazi Germany and highlighted his strategic expertise. Beyond his military accomplishments, Eisenhower made history as the first sitting president to ride in a helicopter. He was also a pioneer in space exploration, approving the United States' first space mission in 1955, which led to the creation of NASA and the eventual space race with the Soviet Union.
The nation should commit itself to achieving the goal before this decade is out of landing a man on the moon and returning him safely to the earth. No single space project in this period will be more impressive to mankind or more important for the long-range exploration of space.
John F. Kennedy, the 35th president, served in the Navy during World War II. On a starless night in August 1943, a Japanese destroyer struck and split his PT-109 boat in half. Despite being left for dead, Kennedy felt a deep sense of duty to save his men, sparing no effort to ensure their safety. His bravery in leading his crew to safety earned him the Navy and Marine Corps Medal. This act of heroism became a defining part of his identity, contributing to his image as a young and dynamic leader. Kennedy was the last U.S. president to be assassinated, and he is famously remembered for his inspiring quote, "Ask not what your country can do for you. Ask what you can do for your country." Lyndon B. Johnson, the 36th president, known as LBJ, began his military service shortly after the attack on Pearl Harbor, becoming one of the first members of Congress to volunteer for active duty. His presidency is marked by two major initiatives: the Vietnam War, where by 1968, 548,000 U.S. troops were deployed, and the signing of the Civil Rights Act of 1964, one of the most significant pieces of civil rights legislation in history. This act prohibited discrimination based on race, color, religion, sex, or national origin, leaving a lasting impact on American society. Richard Nixon, the 37th president, served as a lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy during World War II, where he managed logistics and supply operations in the Pacific Theater. During his service, Nixon became an expert card player, earning thousands of dollars in winnings. This windfall helped fund his first run for political office, leading to his election to a California congressional seat in 1946. Despite his later foreign policy achievements, including opening diplomatic relations with China and initiating détente with the Soviet Union, Nixon became infamous for his involvement in the Watergate scandal, which ultimately led to his resignation in 1974. Gerald Ford, the 38th president, served as a lieutenant commander in the U.S. Navy during World War II, where he saw combat in the Pacific Theater. Ford holds the unique distinction of being the only person in U.S. history to become both vice president and president without being elected to either position. His presidency was also marked by two assassination attempts, both by women, within a span of just 17 days in 1975. Despite these challenges, Ford is remembered for his efforts to heal the nation in the wake of the Watergate scandal. Jimmy Carter, the 39th president, served as a lieutenant in the U.S. Navy, where he worked on nuclear submarines. Before his political career, Carter worked on his family's peanut farm in Georgia, which instilled in him a deep connection to rural America. After his presidency, Carter became widely known for his humanitarian efforts, particularly through his work with Habitat for Humanity, where he helped build homes for those in need around the world. His post-presidency has been marked by a commitment to human rights and community service. Ronald Reagan, the 40th president, served in the U.S. Army Air Forces during World War II, where he made training films and public service announcements. Before entering politics, Reagan had a successful acting career in Hollywood, starring in over 50 films. As president, Reagan became famous for his strong anti-communist stance, highlighted by his iconic speech at the Berlin Wall in 1987, where he boldly declared, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down this wall." Reagan also introduced Reaganomics, a set of economic policies focused on tax cuts, deregulation, and reducing government spending. In 1981, Reagan survived an assassination attempt, displaying remarkable resilience and earning widespread admiration for his quick recovery. George H.W. Bush, the 41st president, served as a naval aviator during World War II, becoming one of the youngest pilots in the U.S. Navy. After the war, Bush ran a very successful oil business in Texas, which helped launch his political career. He went on to serve as an ambassador to the United Nations, and later as the director of the CIA, gaining significant experience in both diplomacy and intelligence. Bush's extensive background in foreign affairs played a crucial role during his presidency, particularly during the Gulf War, where he led a coalition to liberate Kuwait from Iraqi occupation. George W. Bush, the 43rd president, is the eldest son of George H.W. Bush, making them one of only two father-son pairs to serve as U.S. presidents. Bush served as a pilot in the Texas Air National Guard before entering politics. His presidency is most notably defined by the events of September 11, 2001, which led to the U.S. invasions of Afghanistan and Iraq as part of the broader war on terror. Bush also initiated significant domestic policies including the No Child Left Behind Act, and worked on addressing global health issues, such as the fight against HIV/AIDS in Africa through the President's Emergency Plan for AIDS Relief, in PEPFAR. As we've seen, military service has shaped many of our nation's leaders, forging the qualities of courage, leadership, and resilience. From the father of our country, George Washington, to modern figures like George W. Bush, these 31 presidents not only commanded troops, but also carried the lessons of their service into the White House. Some led on the front lines, like Ulysses S. Grant and Theodore Roosevelt, while others, like Dwight D. Eisenhower, orchestrated monumental campaigns like D-Day. Each brought their unique perspective, molded by the battlefield, to the decisions they made as commander-in-chief. Their time in uniform helped define their legacies, from Abraham Lincoln's resolve during the Civil War to John F. Kennedy's bravery in the Pacific. These presidents weren't just leaders of armies, they were leaders of a nation, united by a common commitment to service. Today, their contributions remind us of the deep connection between military service and national leadership, and how the values they learned in defense of freedom continue to shape our country. Their service to the nation in uniform was a testament to their dedication, and their legacies continue to inspire future generations. Be inspired by their famous quotes. Thank you for watching, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more historical insights.